From the BzG studio in the Mission Dolores district, right in the heart of San Francisco, it's BzG News with Barrett Courtney.
Thank you so much all the way over there. Thank you so much all the way right here and over here. And thank you so much right here. What's up, everybody? My name is Barrett Courtney, and this is BzG News, your last resort for all of the crazy, fucked up, nerdy news that's going around. It's BzG's weekly news show. Before I get into all the crazy, nerdy news that you should know about, I've got some things to talk about. First thing, I mentioned it last week, patreon.com/BzG, where, you guys can help support this show, Talking Shit, and the B-List, all of our shows that we do here. There are going to be some changes that we're going to announce tomorrow. If you want to go over there tomorrow, again, patreon.com/BzG. You can read all about what we're changing, why we're changing, some of the perks and whatnot, and all of that stuff. So go there tomorrow and check that out. And then also, I just want to apologize for last week's episode, or the last 5 to 10 minutes is me reading off of a computer, currently learning about PS4 Pro and not really knowing, sort of forming my own opinion, and not really giving the time to think that opinion out. So I apologize for all of that. It was just a weird episode where I was just trying to figure out all we needed to know about PS4 Pro. The date, I couldn't give a date last time. I believe it is November 10th is when the PS4 Pro is coming out. So it is this year. And like I said, this last week on Talking Shit, I don't think it's a good idea. Specifically, I don't think that the PS4 Pro and the PS4 Slim is a good idea. I think they're both trying to answer the Xbox One S, and I think that they really should have made the PS4 Pro and the PS4 Slim into one console. Make it a slimmer version of the PS4 and have all of these great new improved specs and whatnot, and just sell that instead of these two different consoles. One is very vague of who's it for, which is the PS4 Pro, who is that for? And then you have the Slim, which makes sense. The Slim makes sense. So I don't know. I just felt like Sony just did not know how to combine those two things. But again, sorry about last week where I just didn't really know how to talk about it just yet, and I didn't have all the information just yet. Give me a second. I gotta drink some water here. I'm gonna be like Tom Hawkins from Tea Time with Tom Hawkins. This is my glass today, and this is my shirt and my pink tie and whatnot. And then the last thing I want to shout out is, like I said, we talked about Patreon just a minute ago. Someone else's Patreon you should check out is patreon.com/Danny O'Dwyer. If you don't know, Danny O'Dwyer is this very handsome Irish fella who left his homeland of Ireland to go to the UK to work at GameSpot for 2.5 years, and then he moved all the way over here to San Francisco for another 2.5 years to work at GameSpot at this location in San Francisco. And he recently just left his job at GameSpot, and a lot of people were surprised about this, didn't see this coming, and he now made it obvious of why he wants to leave and pursue his passion in video game documentaries. That's what he wants to have a main focus on. So if you think that's really cool, I think it's really dope. I think it's definitely an untapped market and something we really need. It's actually going to be a topic next week on Talking Shit of documentaries. And I believe that, there haven't been a lot of video game documentaries, mainly because documentaries about video games are usually let's look at the video game industry as a whole, or let's go through the timeline of how games in general have developed over the last 40 years at this point. And I feel like all documentaries should talk about single stories, right? The one good video game documentary I feel like is the one about E.T., where they found all the fucking E.T. games in the middle of the desert, right? So I think it's awesome. Danny O'Dwyer is going to find those singular stories and focus on those singular stories. And I feel like video game documentaries haven't really focused on that just yet, of being able to tell a story about what happened with Doom, and why was Doom 3 originally going to be this almost Gears of War type of game, and then it moved back into what Doom originally was. And let's talk about The Last Guardian. Again, this is just conjecture. I don't know what Danny O'Dwyer is going to talk about in these documentaries, but I would love a Last Guardian documentary, or it's what the fuck happened with this game the last 7 years. And like cancel games like Star Wars 1313. Like, what happened and what are these stories and whatnot? So I think that's really cool. And I honestly like go over to Danny O'Dwyer's Patreon, support him, because that is something really fucking awesome. And it's content in the video game industry that we really need, really thoughtful content. So go check that out. Go support him. I don't know when his first like series of documentaries is going to go up. He has not really specified when that's going to start, but hopefully it's soon. Hopefully it's going to be something, and I'm sure that it's going to be something fucking awesome. So anyway, check out Danny O'Dwyer. He's doing some really interesting new stuff for the video game media industry. But anyway, enough about fucking other people and whatnot. Let's get into the nerdy news that you need to care about. First piece of news, of course, it's a disappointing piece of news, but you know, that's how video games work, right? After giving a definite date at E3, Sony and Gen Design have delayed The Last Guardian, hopefully for the last fucking time. At E3, they gave the date of October 21st, but it is now apparently coming out on December 6th, according to SCE Worldwide Studios president Shuhei Yoshida when he wrote about it in the PlayStation blog earlier this week. The cause of the delay is because, quote, a delay is a difficult decision, particularly with this game, but we have encountered more bugs than anticipated while in the final stages of development. To ensure that The Last Guardian delivers on the experience that the game's creators have envisioned, we need to take the extra time to work on those issues, unquote. In case you didn't know, The Last Guardian was originally revealed in 2009 as a PS3 title, but is now slated for this holiday season as a PS4 title. It is also being developed by the same minds behind Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. So yeah, like I said earlier, it's like fucking what's going on with The Last Guardian, right? This game has been in development apparently for 7 years, and there's no way they give the excuse of like, oh, what we envisioned for this game is too much for the PS3, and it's like that's fucking bullshit. All of the gameplay that we've seen and like the trailers we've seen, it's like how would have this looks like a PS3 game. Like, this does not look as good as like other fucking PS4 games out right now, you know? And I'm not saying like the like art, and I'm not like a graphic like horror here, but like the art style and just the graphic fidelity that game is showing does not shout to me like, oh, this needed the new generation of systems, right? Like, that's complete bullshit. Like, what's been going on with this game that you've been spending money for 7 years on this, almost over 7 years, you know? Like, they announced it in 2009, so you would have to think that they've been working on it for at least a year or two before that, right? So it's like almost 9 years of development for this game. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Is this game going to be so good that it was worth spending all this money on? I don't think so, you know? And this new date, December 6th, is right around the day of Sony's other exclusive game coming out this fall, which is Gravity Rush 2, I believe. I think that's what else is coming out around that time. And so you have these games on top of each other, and it's like neither of them are going to sell gangbusters, right? They might be critical darlings, but I honestly, like, what about this game makes the last 7 to 9 years worth it for The Last Guardian? Like, what is it? I don't know. So, disappointing news, but not surprising. Some more interesting news. Apparently there was rumors about this piece of news that I had no idea about, and then I looked up after the news broke. I was like, oh wow, there's been rumors about this piece of news for the last couple of weeks. Assassin's Creed the Ezio Collection is coming out November 15th for Xbox One and PS4. I don't believe there's going to be a PC collection. It will include Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelations. All 3 games will have enhanced graphics, and the collection will also have the Assassin's Creed Embers and Lineage short films, since they're also about Ezio, which is if you don't know, is the title character that you play as in all 3 of those games. Also, if you pre-order the collection, which is priced at $60, you get a free Assassin's Creed movie ticket. Yay. And while nothing has been confirmed yet, the new Assassin's Creed game is rumored to be out in 2017 and is apparently set in Egypt. So, this is interesting, right? Like, fucking Ubisoft, they say like, oh, we're not gonna do a fucking Assassin's Creed game this year, but you technically did, you fucking pieces of shit. So that's sort of interesting. Like, they just couldn't help themselves of like having this fucking collection of Assassin's Creed games. But you know, like, in this collection, if you've never played any Assassin's Creed games before, right? In this collection, you get two you get one really, really like fucking great game, you get another really good game, and then you get a game that just exists, sort of. I can't speak to Embers and Lineage, but yeah, Assassin's Creed 2, fucking phenomenal. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, I think, is a good follow-up. Like, I don't think it's like as mind-blowing as 2 was, but I think it's just like just more of 2, and that's not a bad thing. And then Revelations is sort of, there's too much going on in it. That I guess that was my problem with Revelations. But $60, I don't know if I agree with that price point, especially because, you know, I probably have the trailer playing right here. The enhanced graphics, it's more of like colors are a little more vibrant, and then maybe frame rate, I can't really tell, but like the graphics themselves like aren't really improved. It feels like more of like an improved port almost. Like if they really wanted to do like a remaster collection, they like should have gone into like the recent engine that they've been using for like Unity and whatnot, and make the sort of rebuild the game there. But that, you know, that technically would have been a new, more like, they probably would have had to pour more money into that, and this was their solution to like, oh, we don't have to put as much money, and this it'll be easier for us to see a return on this. So there you go. I really don't know if this is the best thing, especially because there's a lot of games coming out in like the October-November space. So I feel like this collection could easily be buried. But, you know, if you've missed Assassin's Creed, if you've been missing, you know, Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and you want to go back, or if you want to check them out for the first time, you know, I would recommend it. If no other game around that time is like for you, if you're not interested in any of those things, then maybe check it out. But I think there are better versions of those games, right? Like Assassin's Creed is all based around stealth and whatnot, and I think, you know, Dishonored 2, I honestly don't know what the quality of Dishonored 2 is going to be, but if it's anything like Dishonored 1, like it's a fucking great stealth game. So I would maybe suggest Dishonored 2 over the Assassin's Creed collection. But, you know, do what you want, okay? Just don't fucking listen to me all the time. So there, Assassin's Creed collection, because Ubisoft couldn't help themselves. Now, something we don't tend to talk about on this show is cartoon shows. I don't really give updates on like, this cartoons. Usually I don't watch them that much. It has recently been announced that the popular Cartoon Network show, Regular Show, will come to an end after its upcoming 8th season. Series creator and voice of Mordecai, JG Quintel, said, quote, "We got to tell all of the stories we wanted to tell, and making the choice to go out exactly how we want to go out. We're so proud and excited for people to see how we're wrapping things up in a big, big way. We're bringing everything full circle," unquote. I just wanted to give this piece of news like a quick shout out. Regular Show and Adventure Time were 2 TV shows that came out in like this weird space where I felt like there was a definite decline in cartoon shows, and then those 2 came out and I feel like kicked everybody else's ass. And I definitely watched the first couple of seasons of Regular Show. Like, again, I've just been too busy to like be able to like watch a lot of TV shows regularly. So I don't know, like, if this is sort of his like twist to say like, oh yeah, we want to go out the way we want to go out, or if this is like him covering up that maybe like Regular Show is just not getting the views that it used to get or whatnot. But it seems that, you know, if he is telling the truth, then that is really cool that they're ending it on their terms and the way they want, and I appreciate that. It actually might get me back into watching Regular Show again to sort of see like what the journey of Mordecai and the fucking little raccoon dude, I forget his name, but that was a really cool show when it first came out, and Adventure Time is also something very special as well. So shout out to Regular Show and the people behind Regular Show, because you definitely came out with a very interesting TV show when, you know, there was a definite decline in cartoon shows at the time. So shout out to you guys. Hope your 8th season is a great one, and one that you guys are proud of going out to. So there you go. And now these next couple of pieces of news are just going to be like Sony, just more Sony news. A lot of Sony news this week. If you're like me and haven't turned on your PS4 in the last couple of days, you may not know about the new 4.0 update for the system. The update is 312 megabytes, I think. I don't know. it obviously shows how smart I am. And includes folders to manage games and apps. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, like what some of the update will have. So you get folders to manage games and apps, redesigned menus with PlayStation Music added into the quick menu. So you don't, if you're playing like if you're like me, you like to play like sports games, or you're not really into like the music that sports games play, like if you're playing MLB or like Madden or something, you can go to the quick menu instead of like going out of the game itself, opening up Spotify and finding the right fucking playlist. You can immediately just hold down your quick menu button, fucking pull that up, play what you want to play, and then there you go. You automatically have it. So it's like a quicker way to do that, and I think that's pretty cool. The introduction to HDR support, as I didn't cover this last week, but they announced after the PS4 Pro that HDR support would be coming to all PlayStation 4 consoles in case you have a TV that supports like HDR. And a new data transfer feature where you can transfer games, save data, and account info from one system to another with a wired LAN connection. It also improves streaming support for Twitch, YouTube, and Dailymotion, where you can now stream games in 720p with 60 frames per second. 60 frames per second. And you can now also see details for hidden trophies and can view trophies while offline. The second part is like something we've needed forever, right? Like if fucking PlayStation Network was down, like we would not be able to see our trophies, and that's ridiculous. The first one though, like the hidden trophies, I think is really cool, because if you're like someone who's like a trophy hunter and it's just like a vague like sayonara, and then it's like a hidden trophy and you don't know how to get it, and it might not be like a story mission trophy where you just automatically get it just by playing the game. So you get the details of like, what do I need to do to get this hidden trophy, right? So I think that's pretty cool for like trophy hunters out there. But if you want to just get stuff naturally, you have the option to keep those things hidden. So I think that's cool that Sony gave people the option to view that or to hide that. So the data transfer stuff, let me see here. Where's my second page? I think is honestly for their hope of like, okay, hopefully a lot of people are going to buy PS4 Slims and PS4 Pros this holiday season. So let's give them an easy way to transfer all of their data from one system to another. So I think that's pretty cool. You might want to, so I think for both the Slim and the Pro, they're both 1 terabyte. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but if you're wanting to improve even that 1 terabyte, like for my PlayStation 4, I have 2 terabytes. And if you have like all of this save data and whatnot, that's over like possibly the 500 gigabyte or 1 terabyte size for whatever PlayStation 4, I would suggest replacing the hard drive before you turn those systems on, and then transfer all your stuff. So you make sure you don't have to like lose any data or whatnot. That's just my suggestion right there. Streaming, whatever. But the redesigned menus, like just fucking UI and or whatnot, just little improvements there, make it look a little prettier, and I think it already looks really pretty. So I have not personally seen it, but I'm excited to check it out. I just haven't had many games to play. I wanted to, and I'm going to rant about this for a second. I wanted to get the BioShock collection, right? Pre-ordered it on Amazon, because when you buy games pre-ordered or like super new, you get like a discount if you have Amazon Prime, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of that. I know the BioShock games I really like them. So, I don't think there's going to be a huge problem with like this collection with like remastering and whatnot. And I haven't seen any problems from like reviews and whatnot. So before, like I haven't ordered a game from Amazon in a while. And the last time I did it, it was probably like Ratchet & Clank or Uncharted 4. And so you choose the 2-day shipping. And usually they get stocked on the games 2 days before it comes out, and then they do the 2-day shipping, so you get the game the day the game comes out to all retailers, right? But this time around, BioShock Collection, I haven't gotten it yet. By the time you guys are watching this, I'll probably be knee-deep in BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite, but I have to wait until tomorrow, to the day after I'm recording this, Thursday, to fucking play it, and I was really bummed about that. I just wanted to fucking rant about that for a second. Anyway, I forgot how I got here. So there you go. PS4 4.0 update. Check it out if you haven't already. And another piece of Sony news that we have this week, another sad piece of Sony news, is we were all distracted by the Last Guardian's delay. We didn't realize that the other PS4 exclusive game, Neo, has also been delayed to February 9th, 2017. While it was never given a true release date, it was originally slated for 2016 when it was announced. If you don't know, Neo is a high fantasy action RPG where you play as William Adams, a man who has traveled to Japan to become a samurai. Team Ninja's pitch of the game is, quote, players will discover a deep and enticing world that blends history and Japanese folklore. The tough gameplay pits players against daunting and overpowering creatures and encourages them to learn their enemies' tactics to gain the advantage in battle. The protagonist, William, is not alone against the perilous yokai, as he will be accompanied by a diverse cast of characters who will aid him on his travels across Japan. Hanzo Hattori, the head of the famous ninja clan, is William's guide through the country. Jinchio Tachibana, wife of Munshugi, the head of the Tachibana clan, will also help William on his quest with her skilled fighting abilities, unquote. So that's another that's something I wanted to shout out in case you're like wondering, like, hey, what's going on with Neo? That's what's going on with Neo. If you forget, Neo was the game that Sony showed off at PSX last year, where it was a very like ninja, Dark Souls, very type game. So that's another bummer. So that sort of sucks. But I'm excited. I know Henry's excited to play Neo. Something else I want to shout out while we're in this sort of news segment, and I forgot to write it down, is that Sony, another fucking bummed out Sony story that we have this week is that they're not supporting Fallout 4 mod support on PlayStation 4. Bethesda came out and they're like, yo, Sony's just saying no to us at this point. And so that really sucks. I know my co-host for Talking Shit, Max Romero, was really excited for mod support for PS4, but I guess it's never coming, and that's on Sony. Sort of a lot of people are like, oh, we're only hearing Bethesda's side of the story. Sony hasn't said anything. And you think if there's something else to say, Sony would have said it by now. So I think Bethesda sort of came out and they sort of they're possibly hitting two birds with one stone. They're coming out and saying like, hey, this sucks. They agreed with us when we announced mods. They agreed with us like, hey, like, yes, we're on board to do this. And then over time, Sony was like probably like, oh, all this back end stuff is not right. And then Bethesda was probably like, well, we need all this back end stuff to work the way we want mods to work. So they've got that going for them. And then also by blasting Sony, they might be playing Sony's hand by saying like, yo, we show that you guys are being dicks right now. Maybe you want to not be dicks. Sony's just had a really bad week. That really sucks. I'm sorry, Sony. Just have this bad week. You know, you've had a good 3 years. You're allowed to have a bad week. Just come back from it. Just come back from it strong. Anyway, the last piece of news is something we never really talk about on the show, is the best-selling PS4 games for the month of August, which was finally revealed earlier this week. Starting from number 20, the best-selling games in August are, and before I get into this list, I just want to say, I just want to do this real quick. I want to start doing this every month so I can start, analyzing why games are selling so well every month with you guys. So at number 20, we have Assassin's Creed Syndicate. 19, we have Overcooked. Thank you, Greg Miller. 18, we have The Last of Us Remastered. 17, The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. 16, Doom. 15, Inside. 14, Resident Evil 4. 13, Overwatch. 12, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. 11, 7 Days to Die. Not 7-11 Days to Die. 7 days at number 11. 7 Days to Die. Number 10, Batman Telltale Episode 1. Number 9, we have Abzu. 8, Rocket League. 7, Minecraft. 6, GTA 5. 5, Battlefield Hardline. 4, Rainbow Six Siege. 3, Battlefield 4. 2, Madden 17. And number 1, No Man's Sky. So, looking over here, Assassin's Creed is very interesting. I'm surprised that it might just be a lull week, and that might have been on sale or something. Syndicate is actually a pretty solid game, and so if you're in this bitter like hatred towards Assassin's Creed, I would actually check it out, because Syndicate is probably the best Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag. And then Overcooked, obviously, Greg Miller from Kinda Funny just fucking found this crazy game and then blasted it all over the internet, so people flocked to that. Last of Us, Inside is getting a little bit of love. I wish it got a little more love from the PlayStation community, but I think that's, it was just sort of this like, oh, it came to Xbox first, and then a month and a half later, it's finally coming to PS4. So, but I hear Inside's pretty cool. The two that I'm really surprised about here, and I'm surprised they're not higher, is Resident Evil 4 and then Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which are at 14 and 12 respectively. I believe this is because, again, this was in the month of August. I think these games were a little lower because they were both released in the last week of August. And also Deus Ex Mankind Divided, even though it's getting all this praise, is not really well known to the common gamer, right? I was in line for the midnight release for here on the West Coast. It's 9 p.m. I was in line, and I was one of the two people in line picking up Deus Ex. Everybody else was picking up Madden 17, which is at number 2. That's understandable. It's a yearly franchise. The other three that I'm really interested about, like, Rocket League, constantly doing fine. Minecraft is like one of the most popular games ever. GTA 5 is sort of making a resurgence right now. I think that's just because I think GTA 5 has been making the rounds lately just because a lot of people are sort of in this weird space where they want an open world game, and we haven't really seen like a crazy open world game in the last coming months. So I feel like it's just sort of like this weird space where we want an open world game, even though we've had so many in the last couple of years. So I'll suggest, if you're in that weird space where you want an open world game, to look out for Mafia 3 that comes out in a couple weeks. Yeah, Battlefield Hardline, Rainbow Six Siege, and Battlefield 4. I honestly think probably the two Battlefield games were probably on sale, especially like Hardline. A lot of people shit on that game when it first came out. And then Rainbow Six Siege, I think I've been hearing good things about Rainbow Six Siege a lot lately. They've been putting in all these really cool patches that have like helped the game be more interesting and whatnot. So I think that might be the reason why. And then again, Madden 17, very popular. And then No Man's Sky, obviously very, very hyped up game. Did not meet a lot of people's expectations. So it'll be interesting to see when we see the best-selling games in the month of September if No Man's Sky is still even on the top 20 games, or maybe even just the top 10. It'll be interesting to see that. So anyway, those were the best-selling PS4 games in the month of August. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was all the news that we had for this week. But before we go, remember, I always have a segment at the end of the show called Don't Forget, where I talk about all of the upcoming video games, movies, sometimes comic books, and music coming out in this next week. So you don't forget to check those things out. Remember what was the fucking Recore? I talked about that like last week, where it was like, hey, Recore is a thing. Remember that? Of course you don't. Recore is getting very average reviews right now, which I totally expected. Anyway, some of the video games coming out this next week. On September 16th, we have NBA 2K17 coming out. If it makes improvements on NBA 2K16, this is a sports game I would highly recommend. I'm not into basketball whatsoever, but I picked up NBA 2K16 when it was one of the free PlayStation games of the month. I think this was back in like July, maybe June. And I fucking loved that game. It just plays really well. It's really smooth. A lot of things like you have to think about, and it's just a really well done, really well made game. So if 17 is just an improvement on 16, might be something you want to check out. And then we also have a piece of DLC coming out, Destiny Rise of Iron, for all you fucking Destiny nerds. Or anyway, going back to NBA, that is going to be released on PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One, going everywhere. And then Destiny Rise of Iron, for all of you Destiny nerds out there, there's like the next, I think, final expansion for Destiny, which comes out September 20th, available for PS4 and Xbox One. I remember Destiny, the team behind Destiny announced like a couple months ago, like, hey, everything from here on out that we make improvements for Destiny is only going to be current gen, which I think is smart. Like, we have to eventually just let go of the last generation, right? We just gotta start looking forward. So, props to them for just focusing on the current generation. And then we also have Batman the Telltale series episode 2 coming to PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, coming out September 20th. I reviewed the first episode, if you want to check that review out. I think it's the last piece I actually wrote on bzgamers.com. It's our BzG blog. So I reviewed that. I thought the first episode was okay. I would like to see some of these things a little more developed, and I think the engine for Telltale is still shit, even though they improved it for this game. So if you're looking for, if you want to continue that series, or if you want to hop on now, since there's a little more than just one episode out, You can check that out. And then also Firewatch coming to Xbox One on September 21st. Firewatch, it is an experience. A great experience? No. But it is an experience if you want to sort of finally join in on that conversation. If you don't have a PS4 and like knew like Firewatch was it was like the talk of the week when it first came out. If you want to sort of understand why people were sort of up in arms about that game, maybe check it out. It's not super expensive. I feel like it was like $20 or something. It is an interesting game. I'll give it that. So maybe check that out. Those are the video games coming out this week. But then some movies we have coming out. We've got Snowden, which is a movie based off of the former CIA person who like leaks all of this like private information about like the CIA and like all of this shit that's going on of like spying on American citizens and whatnot. So that's coming out. It starts today. You can watch it today after you watch this episode of BzG News. It currently has a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 44% on Metacritic. I'm a little disappointed in that because I had high hopes for the movie. I'll still probably check it out, though. It's got my boy Joseph Gordon-Levitt starring, playing the title character, so maybe that. Another movie coming out is Bridget Jones's Baby. Why the fuck do we need this movie? And the crazy thing is, it has an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't... If you're my mom or if you're friends with my mom, there you go. There's a movie for you to go check out this week. And then we also have Blair Witch, which is not I forget how they explained Blair Witch. It was like, it is not a remake of the Blair Witch Project. It's more of just expanding on the lore of the Blair Witch. So it's like a new story, basically. My boy Jimmy Champagne, I believe, is really excited about that movie because I know he's into a bunch of horror stuff. But right now it has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, you know, it'll probably be an average horror movie if you're looking to check out just something good, like make-out movie, or, you know, so the girl next to you gets scared, or the guy next to you gets scared, whatever. They get all scared, and you can, you know, make that as an excuse to like cuddle up and feel them up and whatnot. I don't know what you people fucking do. So there you go, Blair Witch. And then also something coming out. It's a limited release today. Is The Beatles 8 Days a Week, which currently has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not reviewed by a lot of people, but still like across the board, getting really good reviews. It's a limited theater release today. You might want to look up if you want like a good like theater experience with this movie. Maybe want to look it up, like, oh, are there any theaters near me playing this? If you don't know what it's a documentary about the Beatles, specifically during their big tour years, in the sort of Beatlemania phase of the Beatles, where they went on tour and they slowly learned over those years that like their concerts and their tours were not really about the music anymore, and that's why they stopped touring. So if you're looking for a really cool documentary on a era of the Beatles that doesn't get focused on like too much because it's just like sort of passed over as like, oh yeah, that's when all the fangirls were a big thing and whatnot. If you want to get like a cool look at like what touring was like for them, maybe check that out. If you want to get a cool theater experience, look up today like, oh, is this playing near me? Or if it's not, don't worry. It gets released on DVD and Blu-ray, and I bet streaming services or iTunes or whatever tomorrow. So don't worry too much. Don't be like, oh God, I gotta watch it today, and then I'm gonna miss it. Don't worry, it's coming out tomorrow everywhere else. So just fucking chill. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that was all the shit that's coming out this next week, and that has been BzG News. Remember, this is BzG's weekly news show where I talk about all the crazy, fucked up, nerdy news right here on youtube.com/BetaZonaGamers every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember to go check out Danny O'Dwyer. Remember, patreon.com/Danny O'Dwyer. He left his job at GameSpot where he had like health insurance and whatnot to go focus on his passion of making video game documentaries. I think that's something really cool that everybody should be looking at and supporting. So go check that out. And then also remember, check out patreon.com/BzG tomorrow. Check out all of our sort of new changes to our Patreon if you want to check that out. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I hope to see you next week for some more nerdy news. But until then, stay fucking nerdy. Thank you so much. Thank you guys all the way over here. So sorry, Sony, that you've had a terrible week, but I hope that you make a good comeback. Thank you.